At 91, you do not run out of memories. You run out of illusions. For most of my life, there was one thing I worried about constantly, quietly, persistently, almost politely. It influenced how I spoke, how I planned, and how I judged myself when no one else was around. I believed it mattered deeply. I organized my life around it. Now, standing near the end, I can say this with certainty. It did not matter at all. The irony is not cruel, just sobering. The thing I feared never had the power I gave it. Time revealed that most of what kept me awake was never going to decide my happiness, my worth, or my peace. What truly mattered was far simpler, and I saw it far too late. This is not a story about regret for what went wrong. It is about realizing how much life is shaped by worries that quietly vanish when you finally see the whole picture. For many years, the worry did not feel like fear at all. It felt like being smart. It felt like learning from mistakes before they happened. I told myself I was careful, not afraid. I believed I was choosing the safe path because it was the right one, not because I was unsure of myself. I avoided risks and called it planning. I held my tongue and called it politeness. I stayed where I was and called it stability. People praised me for being steady, and that praise made the worry feel earned. I thought good judgment meant never rocking the boat. I thought maturity meant knowing when not to speak. Responsibility became my shield. Whenever something felt uncertain, I wrapped it in words like common sense and practicality. Those words sounded solid, so I trusted them. I watched others take chances and told myself they were reckless. I convinced myself I was wiser because I waited. But waiting became a habit, and the habit became a rule. Over time, I stopped asking what I wanted and started asking what was expected. The worry learned how to speak calmly. It never rushed me. It simply reminded me of what could go wrong if I stepped out of line. I listened because it sounded reasonable. Fear rarely shows up yelling. It shows up wearing the clothes of caution. It tells you that staying small is the same as being safe. I built my identity around being sensible, dependable, and agreeable. Inside, I felt tight, but I ignored that feeling. I believed discomfort was the price of being an adult. It took me decades to see that wisdom does not make you smaller. Fear does. Real judgment brings peace, not constant tension at last. That truth arrived slowly, quietly, and without mercy. When I look back now, I do not see one big mistake. I see hundreds of small pauses that slowly shaped my life. The worry did not take things from me all at once. It borrowed them quietly. There were chances I felt drawn toward but postponed until later, telling myself the timing was not right. There were conversations I planned to have someday when I felt more ready or more certain. That day often never came. I remember moments when my chest felt tight with words I wanted to say, yet I smiled and stayed silent. At the time, these choices felt harmless. One delay did not seem like a loss. One quiet moment did not feel important, but they added up. Years passed faster than I noticed. Paths closed without warning. People moved on, changed, or disappeared from my life before I spoke honestly. I told myself there would always be another chance, another season, another opening. Worry kept whispering that patience was safer than action. Slowly, my world grew smaller. I stayed in places that no longer fit me because leaving felt risky. I accepted limits that were never forced on me. I watched younger people speak freely and step forward while I stayed behind, telling myself I was being realistic. The truth is that fear stole my time without asking. It never announced what it was taking. It did not warn me that these years would not return. I did not feel robbed. I felt responsible. Only later did I understand that the cost was real. I lost confidence I never built, closeness I never deepened, and growth I kept postponing. Nothing dramatic marked these losses. No alarm sounded. Life simply kept moving while I waited. That is how worry works. It does not ruin your life loudly. It slowly reshapes it until you barely recognize what you gave up. Age did not arrive with answers. It arrived with space. Somewhere in my late 80s, the worry began to lose its grip, not because I fought it, but because it no longer made sense. The things I feared most had not happened. The disasters I planned for never showed up. I looked around and realized many of the people whose opinions once guided me were gone. Some had passed away. Others had changed so much, their judgment no longer mattered. The world I tried so hard to manage had moved on without asking my permission. That was when the worry weakened. It had no audience left. I stopped replaying old fears because there was no one left to impress. I noticed how little control I ever truly had. The truth felt sharp but freeing. I had carried that worry like a duty, believing it kept me prepared. In reality, it kept me tense. Age stripped away the noise. I no longer rushed. I no longer pretended. I could see patterns clearly for the first time. I saw how often fear predicted endings that never came. I saw how much energy I spent guarding against moments that passed quietly. One morning, I woke up and felt calm instead of alert. My body felt lighter. My thoughts were slower and kinder. Nothing dramatic happened. No speech, no promise, just a clear knowing. The worry had outlived its purpose. It no longer protected me. It only reminded me of years already spent. That realization hurt, but it also healed. Clarity replaced fear, not all at once, but enough to finally breathe without looking over my shoulder again. For the first time, I trusted my own view of life, and that quiet trust stayed with me, steady and real, day after day at last. When the worry finally loosened its hold, it did not leave an empty space behind. Something else moved in, something quiet and steady. Peace came first. Not excitement, not pride, just a calm that settled into my days. I stopped arguing with myself. I stopped measuring my worth against imagined standards. I began to speak more simply and honestly, even when no one was listening. Truth mattered more than approval now. I noticed how good it felt to say what I meant without dressing it up. Self-respect followed naturally. It grew each time I honored my own feelings instead of dismissing them. These things were not new discoveries. They had always been there, waiting. Fear had simply stood in the way, convincing me they were risky or selfish. Without the worry, life became smaller in scale, but richer in meaning. I paid attention to ordinary moments, a quiet morning, a clear conversation, a decision made without second guessing. I realized that what mattered most never required permission. It did not depend on praise or agreement. It lived inside simple alignment. I felt no need to impress anyone anymore. That freedom was gentle, not loud. I accepted my past without trying to fix it. Regret faded because it no longer served a purpose. I could see my life as a whole, not as a list of wins and losses. I understood that peace is not something you earn at the end. It is something you allow when you stop resisting who you are. Fear had delayed that lesson, but it could not erase it. Even now, at this age, I wake up with less weight on my chest. I move through the day with patience. I trust myself more than I ever did before. That trust is what remained when worry finally stepped aside. If you are listening to me now, and you still feel worry guiding your days, I want you to pause. Not tomorrow, now. Worry does not rush you. It waits. It tells you there is time later, when things feel safer or clearer. That is how it steals life. Quietly. You may think you are being careful, but ask yourself, who taught you to be afraid of living openly? The fear you carry today feels normal because you have carried it for years. I know that feeling well. I believed my worry was protecting me, just as you might believe yours is protecting you. It is not. It is shaping your choices while you look the other way. I am not asking you to become bold overnight. I am asking you to notice. Notice the small moments where fear decides for you. Notice how often you delay, soften, or stay quiet when honesty would cost less than you think. You still have time to question that habit. Time is not endless, but it is still yours. Do not wait for clarity to arrive with age. It comes with courage. Start with one small choice that feels true instead of safe. Let someone misunderstand you and survive it. Let discomfort pass without running from it. Life does not reward perfection. It rewards presence. I cannot give you back the years I spent worrying, but I can tell you this. The fear fades faster than you expect once you stop feeding it. Peace grows where honesty is allowed. The future does not need you smaller. It needs you awake. If you take anything from my life, let it be this. Worry will never thank you for your loyalty. But life will meet you the moment you stop living on pause and choose to step forward while time is still willing to walk with you.